Take the pup for a walk today?
Oh, absolutely. I'm trying to walk.
Can I get my phone?
Oh, I had my phone all day. I had that, we had it was 2.5 miles. But we try, I try, when I walk, I try to take 2. No, we'll just keep that down, but she doesn't.
You know, like, yeah, do a quick step.
I don't know if I see that. Yes. Oh,
Cardio first.
oh, yeah, yeah. I just went to the doctor, I'm having surgery on Thursday. Good. Gotta commit to it.
So,
Save society, then decided to take it from people.
I don't know your ears.
Yeah, I can do it. I think I'm fine. I think we're, it makes sense to deal share.
It's not first for all time. It's. What happened to my daughter's earrings?
You learned how to
Mhm.
go.
I don't have like the big studs. That's the way. But I'm not like a cool person, I'm not very fashionable.
It's just. She's just.
Normal way either.
They're very fashionable. Oh, absolutely. There's no question.
You know what you're wearing?
Yeah.
Turns out.
That's funny color.
Oh.
She's a
I
You don't get to do that. She picked it up.
already got it, or she.
No, she wouldn't.
Best plan.
I don't know. I'm there.
I won't walk away with the tour. Because of this.
Maybe.
You guys are on it, so it's.
Oh, so you still lost it on that day.
That's like, that's fine. That work.
Mr. Carney, you left.
I mean, I do all that. It's called.
Really? That's just the door over here.
We had to call the order.
Again, I'll let him sit down. The way you can officially have the floor.
Oh, well, I'll sit down until they call. You're sure, or is he saying he does?
Levi's?
Oh, it's Cubs. It's Cubs, yeah.
Oh, sure, yes.
You didn't see it, so bad. Okay.
I almost optimistically thought it was a twins shirt. Men's cup.
No.
We're good, we're good.
Okay, we can officially call this work session of the Charles City Community School District to order. You have the floor.
All right.
Thank you. So we're meeting tonight just for a mid-year update on our school goals. And so we'll jump right into those. We had 3 goals set for this year to grow our English and language arts and our math performance by 5% from fall to spring. And then our 3rd goal was for me for walkthroughs in our classrooms. And so we'll kind of go through the progress for each of those. For English and language arts, if you want to, you can keep going through. There we go. So we have selected our ELA curriculum. You heard a lot about that last year, working through that process. We've been really, really happy with it. I know we had a couple teachers come, was that last month, and talk about that. And our teachers are doing a fantastic job implementing that. It's really, and I would invite you to come, but it's really cool to walk from classroom to classroom to classroom and just see the lesson just keep going. It's the exact same lesson for all of our kids. I worked with Dr. Schilling to create a look for document when I walk through for things that we want to see for our CKLA curriculum. And then working to get consistent intervention materials between our gen ed teachers, special ed teachers, and titles. So we have been using UFly materials, which is the Florida Literacy Interventions, I believe. And so we use those for our kids when they need extra support, either within the classroom or through title services or special education services. And then we have been working again with Dr. Schilling. Chelsea and I have with the CLSD grant. So we got a lot of money for the next, I believe, 4 or 5 years to work on aligning our literacy instruction throughout the district. So rather than just looking at individual buildings or adopting curriculum in one building or another, this is this is designed to align our literacy all the way through from pre-K all the way up to 12 and just improve our literacy practices. So we have created that literacy leadership team. We've met once, I believe, and then Chelsea and I have gone to one PD day, and then we'll have another one coming up here in a couple months where we're learning more about this process. And hopefully that will help our district align our literacy practices through K-12. And then Compass PD, we were asked to choose a service provider basically for professional development. And so Compass PD has been coming in to work with our literacy team, but then they've also been coming in to work with individual teachers on some different skills throughout the life of this grant. And then we get to our super fun graphs. So kindergarten data looks phenomenal. We went from 57% proficient to 71 in the winter. So what we see is like high risk on the far left, some risk in the middle, and then at benchmark or above on the right. So we saw a lot of growth in kindergarten in the winter. This is the next slide is the annual caveat that we are not comparing apples to apples. That did not format very well for some reason. But we do have new tests that come in every trimester. And so we introduced word segmenting and nonsense words. And then in the spring, we will add sight words. So while we can say, yes, we did improve, and that's a wonderful thing, it's still not exactly a straight comparison. And then in the next slide, we go to first grade, and we did have a small drop from 63 to 56% in first grade. Again, on the next slide, we show that the CBM reading, this is really, the formatting did not come through very well at all, but the CBM reading is the one that changes in the winter of first grade. And what that is, it's a very long passage that kids have to read. It's very challenging for our kids the first 3 times they do it. But once they get to second grade and beyond, it's the only test they do. They just read that passage. But our kids are getting more and more comfortable reading because as part of this new curriculum, they have full-length books that they're reading with their class. So I'm hopeful that that will continue to improve in the spring.
You want me to try and switch formats?
It's okay. I think it might.
Okay.
Is this PowerPoint versus?
Thank you, back a slide.
Yep.
What is, Joe, remind me again what the dark,
Dark
pink,
red is
like,
high risk, and then some risk, and then proficient. Yeah.
and we want those numbers to go down,
We definitely want those numbers to go down. Yes,
the purple to go up.
correct.
So is that the pinks becoming purples?
It is, we want those, yes, we want them to move to the right. Yes. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, so like the dark pink could transition to the light pink,
Correct.
and then the
Yep.
light pink would transition to the
Correct.
purple.
Yep. Correct.
So how many students are we talking, like when we talk peak percentages?
Oh, when you talk 6%, you're probably talking about 4 or 5 kids. Yeah, it's not a lot because there's about, I think we have about between 75 and 80 first graders. So it's not a huge portion.
So in that situation where maybe in the fall, a student would take it in the spring, it wouldn't take it, how would we calculate that?
Like if they moved out of the district, is that what you mean? I pretty much just calculated with the students that we test. So I don't track them once they leave our district. Even if they move within Iowa, I could see their scores, but it's not our instruction that's doing that. So,
Okay.
Yeah. Any luck, Dr. Malone?
Uh,
Fixing something.
oh, I'm just moving the box.
Oh, okay, okay.
I can change the other format.
No, you're
I
totally
think
fine.
that's fine.
You're
We get
totally
the
fine.
idea.
Yep. So yes, the CBM was added, I think, and then we should be going on to the map after that, I believe, one more. Yes.
Sure.
So yes, we have, we're still using Bridges resources. I think we're fully implementing them now. This is year 4, I believe. And so it just does take time for teachers to get better with resources. And I feel like the biggest areas I cited for improvement last year was the pacing. I feel like that's gotten a lot better. Our teachers are not spending, enormous amounts of time on skills that they've already taught multiple times. I am getting into classrooms more, and again, using a document that Dr. Schilling worked with us to create about look-fors for Bridges teaching. We have AEA staff doing walkthroughs to improve our teachers' effectiveness, and then we have two coaches who come from the AEA. They both work within the special education realm, but they help our teachers. She is specifically math, and then we have another one that's specifically behavior. And then we've also worked with one who is specifically reading, but she's helping for instance, she's helping our co-teaching first grade section just get stronger with that co-teaching model. And then what we have planned is more of the same on that next slide. There we go. Pacing again, we've gotten a lot better. I still think there's some room for improvement there. We have those individual math plans that were new this fall. And then professional development through our district, emphasizing that student discourse. We think that that's a really important piece to be able for students to talk about what they're learning. And then if we look at data again, kindergarten jumped from 67 to 74. And then our first grade stayed roughly the same, 75 to 74. So we're talking maybe one kid. But 74, I believe, is the highest since I've been here. So our teachers and our kids are doing a really fantastic job with their math instruction. And then this is the overall score. So I put two pieces of data here. I'll walk over to the screen. So this is our total percent proficient. So you can see this is exactly the same as what I showed you. What's down here is our growth. So the expected growth between the fall and winter scores, these are the percentage of kids that made that expected growth. Really, really strong in kindergarten, not as strong in first grade. The bar gets raised a little bit. Each grade level we increase. And so it gets a little bit harder to make that expected growth each time. So this is ELA, and then the next slide is math. And we see a lot of the same things. So almost identical scores here, 74% overall. We see very, very strong growth in kindergarten, a little bit weaker growth in first grade. And so that's an area that I still want to find out more about. What is it that's slowing our growth in first grade? Is it just that the bar is that much higher, or are there other reasons? And so that's one of my wonders, kind of things I'm going to be working on yet this spring.
Does the test change for math too?
The math scores do not, I don't believe so. I'd have to double check on that, but I don't think it does. And then my last one was about walkthroughs. And so I did develop a walkthrough form. We are targeted in our preschool special education to basically have kids grow at the same rate as their gen ed peers. And so I've worked with them from the Department of Education to improve my walkthrough form so I can be really precise about things that I'm looking for. And then, like I said earlier, areas of CKLA and Bridges instruction, I've put that in there as well. And then what I have planned, the biggest issue I think I still have with walkthroughs is to get in classrooms at specific times of the day. A lot of times I can get in classrooms when I have time, but I want to be there specifically for certain subjects, or like arrival and dismissal for preschool. And so it's just being very intentional about those. If we can go ahead once, there we go. And then PLC conversations, especially if I see trends that are going across grade level teams. And then one thing that I'd really like to do, we haven't been able to do it yet just because of absences, is get teachers in to see other teachers. I think that that's really powerful learning. We just haven't been able to get everybody there at the same time to make that happen. So yeah, like I said, targeting times to be in specific classrooms, and working with my BLT to kind of get feedback on the feedback I'm giving them, if that makes sense. If you click that link, I don't know if it'll go to my, it's just a really ugly.
Nope.
Yeah. So basically I've charted out every classroom and kind of the biggest barriers of getting into classrooms is absences, honestly. We just don't have a lot of subs in our district, teaching wise or paraeducator wise. Dara is gracious and picks up the phone often for us, and I appreciate that. But you know, when we have absences, that pulls me in a separate direction. You want to be able to see it, and we'll see if I can. Here we go really quick. If you refresh it, it should. So as I go through each week, I just check the boxes of the teachers that I can get, that I get to. And then I do this every 2 weeks. So I try to track, I want to get in every classroom in every 2 weeks. Now I am in every classroom, typically almost every day, but a formal walkthrough, like an actual walkthrough where I'm filling out the document, sitting down, watching 10 to 15 minutes of a lesson. That's what these check boxes are. So yeah, like I said, absences have been our biggest barrier, just trying to get everybody healthy, and hopefully the warmer weather will get us there.
Like this document is new to you this year.
This is new to me this year.
Do
Yes.
you like it?
I do. Yeah, it helps me kind of keep track and see where I'm getting most often. And like if I do miss somebody in the previous 2 weeks, then I want to get there immediately the next time. Yeah. And I really like my walkthrough form because it's
I'll say that's
kind of branched out to different things. So especially with preschool, I think I have like 5 or 6 different pages that I can go through.
Yeah. Have you found yourself like modifying it as you go, or you try to
Yes.
stick with this?
Yeah. Yes, especially preschool, I've changed quite a bit. And then special education is the one that I want to get better at. We were just talking about that last week, actually. Just wanting to know what I should be looking for in special education and being able to mark that effectively. Any questions? Very good. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Okay, we'll move on to Lincoln. I'm here to present the update for our goals or building goals for this year. You can move to the next slide, please. So just a reminder of what Lincoln's goals were. We were focusing on literacy, math, and culture and climate. For literacy, we were looking for a 5% growth from fall to spring as measured by our FAST CVMR assessment. Math, we're looking for 10% growth as measured from Math. And then our culture and climate goal was 80% of our students will treat each other with respect by spring 2026. As measured by Conditions for Learning survey that we give out at the same time that we're doing the FAST and MAP assessment. You can go to the next one. Thank you. So again, our literacy goal was 5% from fall to spring this year. So far, where we're at is 56.9% of our students at Lincoln meet the benchmark for winter screening period, which means we've had a 2.63% growth in proficiency from fall to winter. Also in some conversations, actually, Joe Taylor kind of inspired me to look at this, but he talks a lot about looking at a year's worth of growth. And I was like, well, I wonder where we are in comparison to last year at this time. So I also looked at that, and we're actually have 6.4% growth in comparison to last year for literacy. Next slide. For math, we have that 10%, so that really big goal of growth and proficiency from fall to spring. Right now, we're sitting at 63.86% of our students are meeting benchmark for winter. We had a 6.36% growth in proficiency from the fall, 15.44% growth from last year. And again, I know last year we had some really impressive growth from, I think, fall to winter too. Hopefully I'm not saying anything. Yeah, we had some pretty decent growth, and it's interesting because just highlighting the fact that 65.3% of our students had more than expected growth, so they grew more than what you would typically want to see from fall to winter, again on our math assessment. Next slide. So Joe Carney kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. What's really awesome is we've been really aligned and we have the same curriculums. And so we've been working together a lot this year and last year, and then working with Jen too, as far as okay, what does this look like from the top down? How are we supporting our teachers? Those types of things. So I don't want to bore you with all of the same things that he said, but I just want to really emphasize some of the things that we've done is we've been utilizing CKLA training from the publisher from the start to really support our teachers with that, but also bringing in the AEA as well. Really excited about Compass PD that we're aligned with through our Comprehensive Literacy State Development Grant. They have been coming in just recently and doing quite a bit of work at Lincoln with our professional learning too, focusing on some interventions, and that's been really energizing to the group. The other thing is for Bridges, we've really just been looking at refining how we're supporting and then digging in a little bit more to supporting our new teachers, our year 1 teachers, our year 2 teachers. We have a certain portion of Bridges has number corner, and there's kind of an art to that, and it's separate from the rest of math instruction. And so Mrs. Plegan-Cool for our year 1 and year 2 teachers actually kind of demonstrated and modeled what that should look like at the start of the school year. We have the AEA coming in and doing some coaching sessions with our new teachers as well. So the other one is just working on peer observation opportunities. There's an individual in our building who just got certified as a teaching sub as well. And so hoping to be able to implement some peer observation opportunities here shortly. Next. So culture and climate, so that 80% of our students treat each other with respect. I kind of outlined here 2 different data points that we've been looking at as a building leadership team at Lincoln. So spring of 2025, only 57% of our students reported that they treat each other with respect. And so that's how come we kind of honed in on this as a goal. You can see fall and winter, we have already met our goal. And then also, we wanted to measure and look at if students would recommend Lincoln to somebody who's not ever been at Lincoln. Pretty good indicator of overall health, and that has increased as well. So some of the recent things that we've been doing in this area is 4th grade had a respect retreat out at the fairgrounds in January, and I know that the students really enjoyed being a part of that day. There was a lot of good learning and sharing going on too, as far as how we treat each other and what we do matters. We are utilizing a screener and implementing small groups to target certain skills that students might be lagging behind in. And then also myself and some other administrators went to a Safe and Civil Schools conference last week and learned more about a program called CHAMPS, which is also going to be pushed in, and we're going to do training for all of our staff at the end of the school year for CHAMPS, which is to help support classroom management and students. So next slide, please. I wanted to add this slide in, so it's in addition to all the other building goals, Lincoln is targeted by the state for students, low SES students or students who are on free reduced lunch. They're not performing as well. And so one of the areas that our building leadership team has decided to target is attendance, because we realize there's a huge discrepancy between our students who overall and then our students who are free reduced lunch and how often they're here at school. So you can see chronic absenteeism in 24-25 was 23.49%, but then you can even see, and I split out for our students with disabilities too, just 5% higher. So our students who have low SES or have disabilities are more chronically absent. And obviously, if they're not in school, we can't help support them and help drive that growth. So I just wanted to highlight that as of the end of January, there's been a 7% reduction in our chronically absent percentage, but then you also can see our percent of attendance change. So this is last year. Lincoln overall was at 71%. So percent of students at low risk with 90 to 100% attendance. So last year we were at 71%, and overall as a building, as of the end of January, we were at 86%. And there's been a huge percentage change for our free reduced lunch students, and then also a pretty nice change for our students with IEP. So we're really proud of this work. And some of the things that we've been doing is we've been doing daily classroom shout outs, which is simply just recognizing the classrooms that have perfect attendance that day. And Miss Janine announces it on the announcements the next day. It's super cool because you can hear the kids cheering like across the building as we do that. So they're cheering each other on. It's also inspiring some more conversations about why attendance is important and when you should stay home and when maybe you should try school. Sometimes when we have the sniffles, that's not necessarily a great reason to stay home. But if we're throwing up, we do not want you at school. And so just kind of re-educating, especially after COVID. We're doing monthly assembly recognition. We're sharing information with families. We're working on reaching out to families sooner. So we have some things in place for second semester. We're probably going to tighten that up even more moving into the next school year. But yeah, and then we're just continuing our work based on the conference that I had mentioned, because there's a full day of learning on attendance as well. So Dr. Burnett, you can switch to the next slide. What questions do you have for me?
So I have a question. So you talked a lot about growth and development within the academic for the students. From a building perspective, how is that? Like space for classrooms, sizing, facilities. I didn't think about asking Mr. Carney about that, but I'm gonna ask you because I know we've got an older part of the building and there's been some changes going on.
Yeah. So are you asking how the building is doing as far as space?
Yeah.
It's tight right now.
Okay.
And then right now we don't have a level 3 classroom at Lincoln. Thankfully, what will happen is we have a 5-section of 4th grade right now, and they'll be moving to Mr. Taylor over there. That frees up a classroom where we will have space for a level 3 classroom, hopefully next year, but it is super duper tight, like to the point where, you know, Mr. Nyberg would love to have a different space, and he has his own space, but it is not as conducive as he would like it. And he's looking at what we're using for storage, which was the old boys and girls locker room. And I'm like, but there's no room to put then the janitor's like big buffer and stuff like that. So it's tight right now, but I think it'll get a little bit better next year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So all the level 3 special ed kids are at Washington, elementary.
We have one level 3 student who would be at Lincoln right now, or is at Lincoln, but the rest of them are being served down at Washington right now. Yep.
Excuse me.
No other questions? Thanks, guys.
You know, I was promised that there would be like a song and dance as intermission between these, and I was hoping that we could see that, but I haven't seen it. Bruce had sent out an email. I said, you guys are gonna be really surprised. You're gonna watch.
Next time I'm bringing my guitar, Josh.
Yes.
I can play a few chords.
All right.
Let's do it.
Okay, middle school report. So go to that first slide, talk about our.
This is high school.
Down the bottom. You're right, there you go, right there.
This is Levi, not
This is
Joel.
Levi.
Oh, yeah.
Unless we're jumping,
Well, Levi's gotta go
He's
first. Yeah, he's got Bradford.
Mr. Taylor's already completed his. You see, it went so fast, just like kids growing up.
Let's go.
Bam, it's over.
I tried to sneak in Levi. Pass.
Okay, well, next slide.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. We had 3 goals. I'm gonna talk a lot about the first 2. And the third goal is really just an undertow and a paying attention to what we're putting out there on a weekly basis. But we, by the end of the 25-26 school year, we really wanted to move our students on our performance profile, focusing on, we are targeted for students identified as special ed. And the next slide will show kind of a really interesting piece of information that we discovered this year. So if you want to go to the next slide, please. So we found that we had some major discrepancies in our attendance, chronic attendance. And for you guys don't know, chronic attendance means students that miss 10% of school or more. So in the school year, 180 days, that means that they miss 18 days. So we think about that, that's 1 month of school that they're missing. We found that 40% of our students with IEPs are chronically absent. So 4 out of 10 of our students who need more school are here way less than what they should be. So red flag, it was actually 16% more than our general education. And if you go to the next slide, it shows this. I think this is an interesting graphic. This is coming right from the state report card. This is us, all students at the middle school. The state average is 15.81. That's where we want to strive for. We're close, 28.61. That's every student. We're really close with low socioeconomic status, the free and reduced lunch, as Chelsea was talking about. This one is discrepant. So state average is 23, we're at 40. And if we look at the difference between all of us, 21 to 40, that's almost double. So our students with IEPs miss twice as much school as are twice as likely to be chronically absent than our general ed students. That's a problem. So we started addressing it, and you go to the next slide. So starting in December, better late than never, we identified 21 students with IEPs who had missed more than 5 days in the first semester. So 5 out of first semester 90 is getting close to that chronically. They're not at it, but they're getting close. We identified 21 students. Of those 21 students, 12 of them, after a really simple, we're talking sticker charts, guys. That's what we did, is we made a sticker chart for each student, put it in the counselor's office. The student would come in and check with the counselor every morning, put their sticker on, and then at the end of 2 weeks, they would celebrate with a small prize, and at the end of the month, they would celebrate with a big prize. After a couple months of that, 8 out of our 21 original students that have hit benchmarks and were successfully discharged, which means that they have 90% attendance or better. And they're flying. They're coming to school every day. They don't need to be checked on. They're feeling a lot more confident. So just that simple little intervention has taken half of our students off of our chronically attendance list. And as we noticed in our MAP scores, some of the students who have IEPs had the highest growth that they've ever seen. Well, come to school, get the education, and it's all starting to kind of really align for us. And the best part is our counselor absolutely loves this work, and she's the one that's setting the goals. We just give her a little bit of money, and she's going and getting all the prizes and doing things for the kids and setting all that. So this is what she has in her room. Each one of our students has their own chart, and then each one of those dots represents a day. They put the sticker on. When they're gone, it's a black dot. And it just kind of shows them a visual too of like, hey, 90% is missing 1 day a month, which is that's attainable, but that's what that means. Like, but that's what we want to shoot for. Next slide. The next goal was to increase our student efficiencies by 1%. And I know it sounds like a meager goal. We are at or above state average for all of our areas in the middle school, and we think like we're doing the right work. We want to keep at it. We want to show improvement. So we're leaning into the formative assessment process. We're really getting into classrooms. That's me. I'm really getting into classrooms, and we're tracking MAP assessment data coming up here. So we just had our winter MAP, and we were at or above expected growth in all of our areas, which is really good. So this is math. In 6th grade, our students grew 6.4 on average, and they were supposed to grow 6. In 6th grade, they grew 5. They were supposed to grow 6, so close, but didn't get it. In 7th grade, they didn't get it, but in 8th grade, they grew double. So overall, as a school, we grew more than expected. Next slide. In reading, overall, we grew 1.998, call it 2, and expected was 1.75. So 5th grade grew 3.62. That's 2 points was the goal. 1.9, they missed it. That was 2. We had a pretty significant dip in 7th grade, and then we had a 3 times growth in 8th grade. Also, over here, it shows the percentage of students who were proficient. What we've noticed with the MAP test is it's about between 10 and 14% difference. If they're proficient on the ISASS, it'll be about 10 to 14% more will be proficient on the ISASS. And the MAPS it's a harder test. MAPS is harder than, and it takes more work to be proficient on the MAPS than it does on the ISASS. Hope that makes sense. Next slide. In language, we had an average of 2.33 and expected was 2.25. Again, you can look across the board and where we were very close on those. And then science, we showed some pretty. Next one. And then in science, 5th grade grew by 6.7. The expected was 3, 2.6, 1.2, and then 1.14. So we're almost 1 full point above expected growth. So overall, really good data. We had some really high performers. Then we went back and we looked, because looking at and that data that I just showed was from fall to winter. So we went back and we looked from winter to winter to look at like a year's worth of growth. And this is what we saw. We saw in 1 year's worth of growth so this is math. In math, we had two of our cohorts. So that's I think it's 8th and 5th grade were at high achieving and then high growth, high achieving. So this is the quadrant this is like gold star quadrant right here. This is not so great quadrant. Anything in the middle means like you were at or above the 50% in growth, and you were at or above in the 50% for proficiency. So high growth, low achievement, which means like we had 30 points growth, but we're still really low achieving. And so we saw in math, we saw a really good cluster here from winter to winter. And then go to the next one. And this one's reading, kind of the same thing. And the S represents the school. So that's where the middle school is at from winter to winter. So again, 2 of the 4. And then this one is high achieving, or let's see, yep. Medium growth, just on the edge of high achieving. So next. And then this is language, again, looking around on the right side here, and then again. And then in science. In science, we only had 3 because our 4th grade don't take the math science test. So this would be from 4th grade to 5th grade. But overall, we had some really great celebrations, and we pinpointed some things. So in grades 5, 7, and 8, we had high achieving and in math, and then 5 and 8, we had high growth and high achieving. So that's like the gold standard. If we can grow and be high achieving. So that's in 1 year. Reading 5, 6, and 8, high achieving, and then 5 and 8, high growth and high achieving. And then language, you guys can kind of see there. And we put this out to the public too, just to kind of say, hey, look, like we're doing the right work, and our kids are really performing very well. Our teachers are doing right. So, all right. Question?
I got a couple questions, but I can wait. Anybody else is? Okay, so thinking about one of the items you mentioned, which was, obviously students who come to school are higher achievers. Do we know the reason, like, behind why those students weren't able to come to school?
Yeah, so whenever we get to a chronically attending, we set a parent meeting, but then we're almost on response mode. We're reacting to the fact that, okay, they've already been identified, and now, and I definitely, what it comes down to is like there's some sort of barrier. Either they're having a hard time getting up in the morning, they're staying up really late at night. So and or sometimes there's like school barriers too, like, hey, my kid doesn't have very many friends. Oh, now we're going to put them in a friendship group with our counselor and get them really connected socially. Or, sometimes we're having a meeting and my kid's getting picked on by this kid. Oh yeah, tell me more. And then we start taking notes and we start taking action. So we have these like, they're not diagnostic. It's more like we're already kind of an autopsy at that point. Like we're already in this point where we're having parent meetings, and it's sort of punitive too. Like, cause the next meeting then becomes like county attorney stuff. That's when we start these. Inevitably, what we find is the older the kid gets, the more control they have about what it looks like to come to school. The more influence they have over their parents about, I'm just not feeling good, and the parents don't want to put up with it, or they don't want to battle the battle, and then a kid starts to get in a routine and missing a day every couple of weeks or 1 day a week, and all of a sudden, now we're falling behind, and now we've got anxiety about coming to school because I'm falling behind, and it's just this big snowball that starts to happen. So what we noticed is just that simple tier 2 intervention of noticing kids. Hey, I noticed you're here today. I had one come up to me today and said, hey, have you noticed my attendance? I'm like, heck yeah. Yes, I noticed your attendance. You're here every day. I'm proud of you. Are you proud of you? Absolutely. Big, huge smile. And it's like, that somebody to take notice of them and to say, I love it that you're here, look at, like, that must feel good. Now we're having less anxiety. Kind of start controlling what we can control as kids. But I would say, Josh, to answer that question, I find the biggest barrier is a kid starts to dislike school and then they start to opt out. And then they start to opt out more. And the parents are like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, "Yeah, get them here, please." So the more we can, especially with our younger kids, help them enjoy it. And I know that happens less. It just is part of the gig, but that little tiny thing of meeting with the counselor for 30 seconds, is really all they do, and put a stick on the chart.
So what you talked about just a second ago, just to clarify,
Mhm.
that was more of the approach last year where
Yeah.
the required attendance meetings would happen after they hit that chronic absenteeism rate.
Yeah.
And then that was more of a postmortem on their, boy, what's broken.
Mhm.
Now you've taken that proactive approach with the counselor.
Mhm.
You were pulling kids into 5 days.
5 days, yes.
So.
Yeah, which that's been a big change because now they're not reaching that chronic attendance. Now they're not reaching that failure rate because they're not here. Then they're like, we're hitting them, giving them some vitamins instead of, major surgery. So I think that the more we can do with that, also going to the Safe and Civil School Conference, which was amazing. Thank you for sending us so many great ideas about whole school, whole district, like responses to chronic attendance, like coming up with an intense slogan and getting it out there in the public and putting it on the preview before the movies and why just showing up to school is super important. And that way, that communication and that rhetoric can be over and over and over again. That way we have less people that are coming in, not the 21 kids, then we only have maybe 9 or 10 that we're intervening with. And then from that 10, we only have 3 or 4 that now we're going to that next level. So just kind of broadening that tier 1 approach with all of our students. I got some great ideas and just celebrating, like Chelsea said, celebrating more with those kids that do show up every single day and just making that part of your culture.
I don't know if this is the place to have the conversation, but because these students are on IEPs, does that attendance have to be tracked? Like by the special ed teacher when they're not?
Yeah, so
Because then we're starting to get to the conversation of like, are we meeting the goal, like, are we servicing the goals of the IEP if I'm not here? And like, I'm guessing the special, we don't want to put a lot on the special ed teacher, but I'm guessing they have like day-to-day interactions with the students. And so like, they would know if that kid is not
right,
there.
but it's also like
What's that relationship?
control what you can control, right? So, of all the factors that teachers have, a kid not coming to school. So, the answer is yes, they do have that data because they have to progress monitor all the time. And what they're running into is like, this kid's not here. How do I progress monitor? And we're not making any goals. Well, here they're missing X many days. So, it definitely, if we can get them here, we got a chance. And especially with students with disabilities, like they literally require more school, not less.
Well, I just know we have traditional, with some, we have a lot of turnover or not consistent special ed coverage, and so then that relationship may never be getting established to begin with.
Big advantage, my direct situation with my son was I call it a preventative maintenance IEP meeting. When we brought the whole 5th grade team and we just all stood there before the school started and just walked through things that work, don't work. And then we sent out a random team email, or I sent an email as a dad just saying, this is what I've noticed. And we just started an open chat basically. And if there's ever something that doesn't work, he knows to text me or I text him. Teacher reaches out. We've had times where it's good. We've had times where we butt heads. And I mean, there's teachers that have gone rounds with me and back and forth, but they've always been phenomenal to just fix things and we communicate really.
Try,
Every one of them has communicated really, really well to fix things, and knock on wood, that dude is.
Yeah, and at that training, they said, we always want to pick the cheapest, easiest interventions first. And it's like, you want to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and hopefully you get lucky. And like, oh, this thing hit some of these kids. We still have 13 kids who are still on this
This
thing.
idea was the sticker thing that picked up from the conference, or was?
No, that was just random idea.
Does that work with 8th graders?
It works with 8th graders.
Like,
Well, what works? The ice cream party at the end of the month, that helps. But I do think it's more of not the sticker, but the fact that somebody at this school noticed me.
Recognizing.
Yeah, they notice that I'm here and when I'm not here, somebody says, hey, I missed you yesterday, you know, like that. And I know who all 21 kids are. Our counselor knows who all 21 kids are. She's sending emails out to the team who all 21 kids are. So now you've got this like team approach around these kids who are most at risk and kind of build them up. Super excited. She just sent me a text message yesterday because she's jacked about this. 90% of our kids had 90% attendance for the month of February so far. Pretty cool.
So you had the graphic with the different breakdowns of fifth through sixth, seventh, eighth grade.
Mhm.
It seems like seventh grade seems to be the one that always falls just short.
This time they did, not always. I wouldn't say that. But I also want to look at this, like, if we look at the proficiencies, so even though seventh grade had a lower growth, they had a higher proficiency. So sometimes what happens is you get a group of kids who is a pretty high performing group, and then that growth is a little bit less attainable. My daughter is a great example of this. Like, she's a pretty high performing kid and she didn't meet growth and she was bummed out. And I'm like, girl, like, you're 30 points above that, you know, you're going to dip every once in a while. So I think that when I look at the totality of the data, like, okay, we had 38% of them met the growth. They were slightly below, or not below, they were a point below average growth. We're doing pretty good. We're doing
It just
pretty
seemed
good.
like in every area.
Yeah.
Seventh grade just struggled in this one.
Yeah, I would agree. It just, and that's why I went back and looked at a year's worth of growth too. Cause I think that what you also notice is like from fall to winter is a very short window. And, you know, we also notice that sometimes kids do one of these numbers, and we're also looking at long-term trends. And unfortunately, the big matrix that we're measuring on is like spring to spring, because ISAS to ISAS. So, but
Where's the majority of our IEP kids? What grade, or is it equally just?
all over. Right now we have a high percentage of IEP kids in these two grades right now. And that does equate. Although I will say this, statistically, our fifth grade is the one that has struggled with the most. Like, that transition year, man, we just like, we dip and then we climb out of the dust in sixth grade, and then we take off in seventh and eighth grade. I am super proud of the growth. If you go back one more, our fifth grade reading scores, and we just adopted the new reading curriculum, CKLA. That's a plus. So we were over 1.6, almost double over. Look at that. From 37% proficiency in the fall in reading to 51. Like that's a lot. And 63% of our kids met growth. Like that's huge. By the way, that's one teacher too, which is, it's a lot of pressure. And that's why, you know, it's good and it's bad, because it's like, well, your number. Okay. Go back one more, please. And then our math, typically our fifth grade math has been an area of like a really big struggle. We met growth, which is really cool. And when we looked from fourth grade to fifth grade, those guys made some pretty significant moves from fourth to fifth grade. So lot to be proud of.
I just questioned seventh with the way it looked this year. That's also your big influx with the transition of kids coming in.
Yeah.
The new group.
And usually that's actually a data bumper, you know, because typically kids who come in from IC, what we notice is they typically have nuclear families, and they typically are at like 90% proficiency when they come in, which means 90% of the students are at or above proficiency. So that helps our you know, our middle
So
school.
we don't get their scores from IC, because they don't share those.
They're
From
sixth grade.
sixth grade to seventh grade,
The IC doesn't share their scores with us.
I get last year's.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I know where they're at, and I can
Okay.
we can look at growth and trend on there.
Do you have the same sub shorts that Lincoln does?
Mhm.
So in a typical day, if you have a teacher who's sick or has vacation, how many calls would it take before you get someone to sub for that class?
Sometimes we don't, like, we'll call 25 and we may not. So I would say we're probably at 40% of the time or more, we are doing some sort of coverage within. Which is like we're sharing kids or, you know, teachers are giving up a prep to go and cover, or we're combining, open up a door and kind of running it that way, or not sorry, I love being a teacher for the day, but that's, I'll do that. And that's a pretty expensive sub though, like. So,
Maybe our staff need a sticker chart.
what's that?
Maybe our staff need a sticker chart.
Yeah, well, yes, I
Joey,
mean,
they can recognize.
it's a thing, but I would say. Sub shortages are a real thing. We've got a few new ones recently, that's been really nice, that have been pretty reliable. Another problem is we keep hiring them. Like, our 2 subs that we had before, now they're teachers, it's like, good for them. And us all around, but. Yeah. The problem. You can solve that. Double bonus for you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Bill.
Hi, guys.
I don't know.
First of all, shout out to FFA qualified 5 at subject districts today in Sheffield. That's the most of any group or any school attended. And then we hosted boys state qualifier here in town today at Common Bowl. You couldn't have had better results. Our team qualified, and then of all the teams that are there, they take the top 4 individuals. All top 4 are Charles City Comets. Joey Roble, Noah White, Jane Lopez, and Cooper Holm. So literally we couldn't have had a better day for bowling. So that's awesome.
Fifth place missed it by 1 point.
1 pin separating 4th and 5th place.
Yeah,
And
another
from the
comment,
right side.
another comment, another
Yeah,
comment.
another comment. So yeah, and that is what it is. But
Teams?
top of my head, I think we had six.
And each team gets us how many bowlers?
5. Yeah. So approximately that, Dana would be the expert.
Like our whole
Teams that
team
were-
was in the top.
Yeah,
We wrecked it.
yeah, and we couldn't have had a better day. So we just finished up Denokomo week. That is homecoming spelled backwards. I'm not expecting you guys to remember how to pronounce that. It is a way of just saying, hey, it's the winter blues, right? We're January, February, getting to the dog days, do something to change things up. We did some dress up days, all that stuff. But overall culture is pretty good. Getting into, again, performance. I relate a lot of that to grade data. Thank you for hiring Caitlin Decker. She's been a wonderful addition to our math team. Got us through a difficult staffing situation in the fall. But right now we're on the up and up. Thankfully in year 2, Ms. Johnson and myself have a lot more time to dig in to what is working in certain departments, what's not working in certain departments. What you see is the graph of historical data. Yes, we've set a 9-year high in students passing all classes. That number is actually more towards 89%. We got back from first semester, winter break, and we had some students that had to make up some stuff and some finals that they had missed from absences. So that's more towards 89%, which is awesome. But like I highlighted last year, my expectation is that we get to the 90 percentiles. We take that number, we take that data, we look at, hey, where are our students falling short the most? And we look at the instructional strategies in that specific class that we're utilizing. What grading, what are we rewarding? What are we disciplining through our grading system, right? But overall, incredibly positive data. Because again, that translates, and I could take this and twist it a million different ways with attendance. Yes, that's going to be better grades. And that's going to result in passing more classes. I can take that class by class. I can also look at graduation rate, which we'll discuss here in a little bit. We saw a 6% jump from last year to this year. And again, my goal is the 90s. That's where we need to be. I don't like numbers in the 80s. I want to be in the 90s. So it's going to take us a little while to continue to get there. But hopefully it's achievable. But either way, hugely positive. That was publicized. But again, one thing I want to emphasize, there's no decrease in rigor, and I'm going to kind of contradict myself here in a second. But it's no decrease in rigor. I have not gotten up in front of anyone and said, hey, the stereotypical sayings, dumb things down, simplify it, right? No, absolutely not.
How did you prove that?
No rigor?
Yeah.
Just by my directions.
I guess what I'm wondering is, does that show up on your standardized tests then?
And the translating with passing more classes and an increase in
With no,
scores.
there's no decrease in rigor.
Yes.
Yeah, it shows up on the standardized testing.
Yeah, I would hope so. You know, again, my direction in
I
terms
mean, I
of,
guess what I'm saying is just saying that doesn't mean anything. You gotta prove it. So how do you prove that?
that we haven't decreased rigor.
Right,
I would say it would be proven by our last year's increases in our ELA by about 3%, and then our 15% jump proficiency for science.
right.
So, and that's just, when I say no rigor, it's kind of a blanket statement. Usually principals walk in and they'll say, hey, we're gonna do this for, let's say, grading or instructional practices. So Dr. Schroeder, in your classes, I'm gonna say that you have to give unlimited retakes because we don't want students to fail. None of those directions have come from me. Some departments have a straight cutoff and deadline for any missing work, right? I like that. Every teacher has something that they're trying to do by the policy that they enact in their own classroom, right? So I want to teach Josh about meeting deadlines. Josh, all of your stuff is due on Friday. If I don't have it by Friday in my hand or an email sent, then no. Some teachers are like, hey, by the end of this time, I want to do. So again, it's kind of giving teachers the power to run the classroom that they want to, and then providing that guiding hand in the instructional strategies that we're doing. And in one of our departments, we're doing that right now. Is, hey, what are we rewarding by what we are grading? What are we discouraging you from doing by what we are not grading, right? So let's say, hey, you know, Bruce, I'm not going to grade any of your homework. All of my points that I give for my class are going to be on tests, right? Some of you might think, no way, I'm a bad test taker. The kid, and I need some reward from homework. How can we balance that out to get through what we're trying to teach our kids through the policies and the grading and our instructional practices that we're enacting in our classes? So kind of roundabout, a lot of conclusions we can draw from that, but that grade calculation shift, that's what we shifted to this year. So when I got here, I've never seen it done this way other than maybe some upper level college classes where all the grades are in one basket. Okay, so in first semester, everything that you do from August 23rd through December 19th or whatever in that first semester, everything is all in one basket. I did not like that. And the reason I didn't like that is somebody could come off and say, hey, I'm going to start off really, really well in the first couple months of school, and then I'm going to tail off. And then they end up with an F. Okay. A student might start off really, really, really bad and say, I'm already going to fail that class. Why even try? Why even show up? That's the attendance piece, right? So what we did is a traditional model of grading for a high school classroom. Quarter one, approximately 45 days, give or take, depends on the quarter, but approximately 45 days. That's going to be 45% of your cumulative semester one grade. Quarter two, same thing, 45. And then we reintroduced giving finals this year, okay? Whether that be a final test or a final project. Teachers have discretion whether that's going to be a larger chapter test or chapter project or a cumulative, all-encompassing summative, right? And I put on that bottom thing, that bottom note, it's good to do hard things. I had a teacher text me when I was at ISFIS with Dr. Burnite, and they were like, hey, I got this funny quote from a kid today. They're like, Mr. Miller's so nice, why would he do this to us? Right? And I'm like, okay, that's great, all right? But I knew what they were trying to say. But it's okay to do hard things, right? It's okay to continue to push yourself and say, hey, yeah, we're going to run a final schedule and we're going to get after it. But that's getting to that next level of excellence, right? And I believe it's directly translatable to anything that you're going to do in college, real life, right? But we reinstituted that. And again, those are just examples of how it could be calculated. So like example number 2, let's say a kid started off bad, did okay, pulled B on a final, ended up with D minus, right? It's just a straight calculation pull. And again, that's not meant to, help. It is meant to help kids, but it's also meant to challenge them in the same way. Okay. And there's many different ways that we can crunch those numbers.
And I think Levi is right. And historically speaking, what happened was kids would get in such a hole that by mid-fall, they were like, there's no way. And I think they knew it, and teachers knew it, and everybody knew it. And then they just would be like, now they're disengaged, they're causing problems in the classroom, they're discipline problems, or they're not coming to school. So what this did is it gave them a really clear reset after quarter one. That's in the past. Everybody starts at 100. Go make it happen. You still have a chance. And I think that it really helped with all of those things.
Schools are the butterfly effect, everything's connected, right? Hey, you know, I'm giving up in October, I'm gonna put my head down, that causes more discipline problems for the teacher that I have to handle, or behavior interventionist, right? No, you have a fighting chance at passing no matter what, right? Whether it's clean slate, anything like that.
Okay. Go back to that other slide, Brian.
Yep,
So every teacher is now implementing the weighted quarter.
every single teacher, yep,
And
every
then-
single teacher.
Those grades get saved in Power School
Correct, yep, they get saved and stored.
by a quarter.
Yep, we had to figure out, so the only thing that counts for GPA is the semester grade. Correct, yeah, but all those are calculated and stored. Yeah. Sarah Fraser did works and wonders, and Abel Hanser works and wonders on our transcript, because in the past it was just doing the semester grades, and then we had to set up columns for seeing quarter one, quarter two, final. And then
Yeah,
the Q.
so then you said also those are examples, because like, was there a reason, like, are all, so what this is suggesting is not all quarter one grades are weighted more heavily than quarter two grades.
Yep, those are the same, right? 45%, 45%, and then 10% for a final.
What is the weighted grade role?
So that's what percentage you're getting of that. So that's 39.6% is 88% of the 45%.
Second column is an example, so.
Yeah, this is just an
Any
example.
kind of grade of a B minus, that
Yeah.
equals actually that 30, so it's.
A B plus.
So yes, I got 88% in the first quarter. So I have gotten of my first semester grade, I've gotten 39.6 of that 45%.
That's okay.
I will try to restructure it better. I'll
Just
I'll-
add that up.
Yes, and then you add it up, and then it's-
But no,
it's
I
full.
both of them add up.
It's
45.
proportionally pulling the grade to distribute it what it is for that quarter or the final.
So 64,
You're good.
that 64% is 39.6 plus 19.8 plus.
Correct.
I mean, I get they all add together,
Yes.
but I didn't know if like it's favored to go, but then like the 45%, but it's okay.
Yeah, and those are some of like the low examples, like the example of, hey, the kids started off really well. I got a B plus. I failed second quarter. I failed my final. I ended up with a D, right? Where maybe in the past, depending on how points were distributed and when teachers have given their assessments. And that's another instructional thing, right? I saw teachers that were challenged in saying, hey, I have to make sure I am having a fair chance and equally distributing my assessments and my points, and my opportunities to earn points per quarter, right? Instead of just saying, oh, I haven't given a test in 2 months. Oh, I gotta give a test, right? Not saying we have any teachers that have done that, but
And then like going back to, how many classes do we have that are like full year? Like be like English, probably freshman is a full year class.
a majority of our core is full year. So a
So
majority
they
of our.
feel like one semester, but not the second, they just have to repeat that first semester, correct?
Yes, but it also depends on what department that's in. So if it's math, and let's say they failed second semester of math 3, which is typically taken second semester of junior year, they could come back and retake math 3B as a senior, or they could potentially take financial lit to then get that math credit, which is taught in our math department. It really depends on which department it is, between science, math, English, because there's different offerings within those, right?
Sure. As long as
English,
you get to the 3 credits or.
yep, 6 total for math, 6 social studies, 6 science, 8 English, right? So if a student fails English class, then they might have to double up on an elective later or pick one up on Odyssey World. Yep, absolutely. Awesome questions. Ask them as we go, guys. Goals. Again, I want to retain 85% of my non-retiring staff for the 26-27 school year. Right now, it's on track. I want to keep good teachers. Okay. Very simple. I've said that from day one. Number 2, again, I never thought I'd really care as much when I started off my teaching career about the Iowa School Performance Profile, and then I saw my name at the top of it. I'm like, really care about that now. So, the year 1 goal was to really increase ISAS participation rate. That's the first thing coming in. New principal trying to start things. I see 95%, and that scares me, right? So we increased that. Our participation rate was approximately 99% last year. Okay, so that was done. There's going to be one focus every single year. Year 2, I've made as a graduation rate increase. So last year to this year, so the reporting year of 2024, graduation rate was 79.86. Last year to this year, our jump was a little over 6% to 85%. So that's the difference in the 4-year and the 5-year graduating rate. I want, again, to get that in the 90s next year. Okay, what's a good way to say this? Without making it easy, right? If a kid's coming in and saying they're dropping out, we need to intervene, right? We can't just say, cool, take a hike. What are we doing to put them in a position to get their degree and also challenge them? And that's the ultimate intent, is that piece of paper that all of us can say you did what it took to graduate high school. And you can take that to then show an employer and says, I can do what it takes to accomplish a set of tasks to earn an end result, which is why I do ultimately what I do. That's what I'm driven by, is making sure kids get to the finish line. So that is, again, what drives a lot of the work that we're doing at the high school. Intervening, making sure to catch kids, putting in interventions for credit recovery, putting them in a spot to make sure that they're challenged, but also that we're not just going to say, you're going to fall through the cracks. It's challenging, but it's worth it. Next slide, please. Oh, you already did it. One of the goals, again, increase the yes vote percentage for a bond for the high school renovations, ideally passing the bond. So that one was kind of met, kind of not, right? But again, it seems like we're on the right track to make sure to get this place fixed up. And then math proficiency, that's kind of what we talked about, Dr. Schro. So last year we saw about a 14% increase in science. We saw a dip in math, and then we saw a 3% increase in English language arts proficiency. So again, my goal as ISAST comes up, our testing window is April 6th through the 10th. We solidified that as an admin team last time that we met, is that we are going to increase our math proficiency. And again, that's why I thank you for approving the hire of Caitlin Decker, and then sustain or increase science and English language arts proficiency. And again, a lot of the work that we're doing instructionally is really driven by that. That's in the high school, that's ISAST is what we do. Next slide. As I highlighted, with the new law, with House File 782, we have our telecommunications device policy. Goal of mine was that we're going to have fewer than 10 students reach step 4. So far, we've had 8 students reach step 4. We've had parent meetings. We've had kids dropping off phones at the high school office. We put a sticky note on the phone. We make sure that we're doing whatever we can, that we're doing it the right way. Okay. One of the things was, okay, if kids walking around the hallway with an earbud in, guess what they got off? Their phone. Okay. So we spent not very much money, but we got wired headphones. Every kid has to wear wired headphones. And if they're going to use headphones, well, they don't have to wear them, but like, you're going to use headphones, you're going to be those. If you lose that set, come buy it for $1 at the high school office, right? So it's just now it's making the little tweaks, right? It's the things that we spend so much time talking about. When we start going, now it's just kind of part of what we do. Next slide, please. Just so this is on your radar, next year we're going to do a schedule shift, okay? On the left-hand side, you see our normal day schedule. Classes are 41 minutes long with the exception of first period. First period, we make 5 minutes longer because of announcements and then kids just kind of coming in for the day, okay? So the shift that we're making is simple. We're moving advisory to the end of the day. The intent behind that is we are in a new conference, the North Central Conference. We have longer travel times. I would much rather have a student miss homeroom and advisory than miss 8th hour. Okay. And what this does really nice for us in talking with Joe Taylor and Dana Sullivan is we're perfectly going to be able to use this schedule to align with 7th and 8th grade, which really helps, like on the dot. Hey, we have some sort of delay or anything. Hey, these are our schedules. We're using them. Okay. And there's a lot of things that fall into that. We're going through, me and my counselors, we're meeting with every department about course offerings right now for next year. What are we keeping? What are we taking away? What's going to draw students into our classes? There's a lot of good adjustments being made, but I don't want to talk your ear off all night because I'm excited for them. But not pitting classes against classes is essentially what it is. Okay. And by making a shift of when we're going to offer one class or another class is really going to help us out. Per handbook, our senior release should be 1 period. Okay. So next year we're going to uphold that. That past handful of years, it's sometimes been 3 periods or 4 periods. Last year was 2 periods. We're doing 1 period of senior release. Students can choose either 1st hour or 8th hour. Why? You're in high school. Take advantage of your educational opportunities, right? Pick up a NIAC class. Okay. Take a CTE class. You can work for the rest of your life. You'll be fine. If you want to work, and take 8th hour senior release. You can pick up another hour of work and you'll be just fine, right? So again, a lot of moving parts, as always, everything's always interconnected. As always, thanks for the support. Any questions you guys got that I can answer?
You mentioned you want to do an 85% retention for teachers. What's the strategy to do that?
Of non-retiring teachers. So the strategy to do that is to make sure to follow up when they need you, right? To treat them right, to treat them exactly how a teacher should be treated, with professionalism, accountability, honesty, and support. Okay. So I don't have necessarily a retention program. It is, if I am not building the right relationships with my teachers, they're going to leave. They're just going to leave. Okay. Some teachers do leave, and for one reason I can never argue with: family. Never argue with that, right? You want to go get closer to family. That's the reason I left my first district in Northwest Iowa. I want to get to Northeast Iowa. I want to get close to my family, right? You're going to lose some here or there, but just to be honest with you, Josh, I don't have a set one pager of, hey, here's how I retain teachers. It's just treating people the right way. And, you know, that accountability piece is crucial, right? It's, hey, this happened. We're going to address it. We're going to move on. And then also making sure to support them and have their back. If you send me a kid and I send them back, I have airheads on my desk. Okay. And that is not subliminal at all. I don't call kids airheads. It's airhead candy. But if you send me a kid and I send them right back with a handful of airheads, that's not good admin support, right? They send an email, I'm going to try to follow up in 24 hours. Okay. It's having their back, making sure to support them, their wants, their needs, and making sure that they're a valued member of our teaching staff.
They know that that's a goal that you have.
Yeah, I share my goals. Yeah, I share my goals at the beginning of the year.
The board meetings they do.
Yeah. First VD, I share all my priorities and I tell them the same thing. Hey, we're in the 80s in graduation rate. We're in the 80s in this. We got to get to the 90s. Okay. Education's wired in me. I relate 80s to B's.
I can tell you,
Bad about
it is
B's.
without a doubt a much, since he mentioned the cell phone policy, having this building, this full campus and all the shared staff and the students that go back, it is hands down so much easier. I've had less than this many cell phones turned in at the middle school this year. Number one, it's our 4th year doing this, but it's because they're not seeing all the models of the older kids walking through here doing that. And I can also say that when I'm coming through here in the library or in classes, kids are engaged, they're talking with each other, they're talking with each other at lunch, they're not buried in their cell phone. And that is such a big thing because they're socially connected more than now than ever.
Related to any discipline decreases?
Yes, I have not had to investigate one instance of a photo was taken without my permission.
And last year you had how many?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you. Yeah, too many. Enough to bang my head against the wall. You know, it was one of those deals
Like
where,
shocking enough, like significant drop.
I mean, enough to get annoying. Yeah.
Did you have that too?
Not so much. I had other things.
Did you have less discipline without, I guess this year?
I had way less, I would say way less incidences of cyberbullying. Like where kids on a group chat were talking about, and we still have a bit of that because middle schoolers are trying to figure out all their stuff. And most of that stuff happens outside of school. But I can tell you, like, they're not getting together and doing that here. Like,
So like by less photo stuff, probably less like potentially bullying.
oh yeah, also,
Oh,
the
absolutely.
first thing when there's any sort of
But it's not
scuffle
on
or,
campus.
little fight. And that we started enforcing the videographer as much as we did the fighter.
Oh.
And that like really changed the perspective because the second that thing gets sent and it's on school grounds, now all of a sudden public perception is what? Like, oh, this is a melee or these two kids are beating the crap out of each other. So that was a big time game changer when we really started cranking on phones.
And I will tell you, it's just only going to get easier too, because the freshman this year was, hey, that's what the expectation was in middle school,
Yeah.
right? This year's 8th graders comes out the same way.
Yeah.
Like really a lot of my referrals for, hey, technology violations, I'm not kidding you, it's the simple, oh crud, I forgot to put my phone in my locker, my alarm just went off first period.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, some have been that simple, and there's some kids that really push the issue that's like, you know, hey, no, this is my parents paid for this, you can't do it, okay, let's have a conversation, right?
Have you heard any anecdotal experience from like the upperclassmen of like not missing phones?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is like, I'm sure they don't.
Again, they
admit
talk,
that,
at
but-
lunch.
Yeah.
You know, lunch used to be like, I mean, you're walking through and it's just like, is anybody in here? Cause they, you know, they eat, put their trays and then beep, 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 head down. You know, and now.
Yeah, middle
it's
schoolers that are bringing games to school, like card games.
Like actual, like,
I'm serious, and cause our lunches are 30 minutes, which is 27 minutes too long. But they're starting to engage other ways with each other, which is amazing. Like, we get a group of 8 kids, like, dealing out a blackjack game, which they're not gambling, but they're playing, or they're playing this a silly game. We got a chess club that's going on during our lunchtime. Kids are journaling, they're getting art books out.
perhaps we need a budget for a game closet to high school.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
They're gonna want it from middle school and they're gonna expect it at high school.
Yeah, but
So.
really, it's been,
That was
it
true.
has been refreshing. Again, we saw improvement on how many kids are passing our classes. You know, hopefully we see an improvement also with our ISAS. I mean, you know, as kids don't have an excuse to be on their phones and they're learning more, great, sounds good, it's all connected.
And then aligning with the middle school for schedules is just huge for us,
Oh,
because we'll be able
yeah.
to share, paras, employees,
Mhm.
students better, it'll be cleaner. So I think we're gonna see benefits from that for quite a while.
Yeah, and I took a hard look starting in October about block scheduling. If that's something in the future, okay, but it's not where we are yet. It's just not. You know, I surveyed all staff, we had awesome discussions, and we found a better concession is just making this shift. You know, it opens up more opportunities, and again, I losing instructional time, that's my number one priority, is not losing instructional time. Okay, it's making sure that we protect that. And you know, if kids are taking off at 2:30, then guess what? We're okay, right? They're just missing a homeroom and advisory. That's much better than missing an 8th hour.
Is that advised to parents now, like maybe schedule your appointments during this time?
And that's the thing, there's always, I am willing to take the negative with this schedule shift with the positive, okay? I am fully anticipating that's when a lot of our appointments will be scheduled, which is like, okay, you know, then we have fewer kids for academic intervention that I can pull in if they're missing assignments or need enrichment opportunities or need extra help. But at the same standpoint, at what cost, right? So, I mean, I'm not gonna go out there and say that when we publish that in July or early August, say, hey, this is the new schedule. I'm sure that they're
Now what
gonna be.
advisor time is like also MTSS.
Yes, MTSS, yep, that's when teachers sign up on a spreadsheet, what students are reporting to me, what students I need to see, all that stuff.
Oh, so it's not just like hanging out for 30 minutes,
No.
like. actually-
one of the interventions that they talked about at the conference was having your district-wide calendar be publicized, and then you're circling those, like, all your PD dates and sending it to the doctors and the dentist and saying, hey, if a family calls and they have flexibility, these are days that kids don't have school. That now it's telling all of the community members in general, like, we really value this, and if we can work together, we can start to take away like some of those.
Especially in like a smaller town, that seems pretty interconnectable.
Yeah.
It does, yep.
Like over communicate.
Mhm. And it says, we value this, like, we value this so much that we want to.
They actually earn credit in the advisory period.
Hmm?
They actually earn credit in the advisory.
Yep, so it's,
I didn't mean to dismiss it.
no, it's good, it's
The
Zello,
word makes it
yeah,
sound like they're
Zello is our state
advising.
required, and again, by handbook, that's what it said, and it wasn't
They
done
had
for a
the
while.
bill this year.
Yeah, so,
Never earned the credit for that class.
so by they complete their Zello, they get 0.25 credits every year. What's that?
What do they sell?
Career exploration, strengths finders, all that fun stuff, college planning, 4-year planning, all that. So by the end of the year, they need to have that done to move on to the
And
next.
8th graders start it, they start their
Yep.
4-year plan for
Oh, it used to be, I have a plan.
Yep.
Yep.
I plan Iowa plan, yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That's all we have tonight.
Very good.
Or